Man, I'm nervous. I am really nervous about this video.
I would sure hope so. I had to wait even longer after that Splatterhouse video.
Come on, it was Spookum season, and I wanted to celebrate. Oh yeah, I forgot about those.
Still, I've been waiting nearly a year for this.
And I'm saying you need to lighten up. Can't knock a guy for having a bit of fun.
Whatever. You gonna start this thing soon?
Are you gonna hassle me the entire video?
You owe me this one. Just one.
2 words. Intensive treatment.
Point taken.
Alright, time to bite the bullet. Before you ask, this is the closest thing I could find to emulating the look. So, how's it going, everyone? And welcome back. So, with some recent installments to this franchise and under threat, basically, I thought it was appropriate that we talk about one of the best story-driven games in recent memory, and a personal favorite of mine. This is The Last of Us. Oh boy, this will be an interesting one to go through. The Last of Us is the brainchild of Neil Druckmann and was developed by Naughty Dog, who is best known for the original Crash Bandicoot trilogy, Jak and Daxter, and the Uncharted series respectively. If you thought Spider-Man being my first Insomniac game was bad, prepare to be more upset because The Last of Us was my first Naughty Dog title. Work for the game started shortly after Uncharted 2 release, with Neil having ideas and concepts going all the way back to when he was a student in a university. It was formally announced at the 2011 VGAs, and I remember actually watching this live on TV. It was both levels of interesting while also being shit your pants terrifying. The game would release in June of 2013 to universal acclaim, and at this point I was unaware since I had an Xbox and only cared about cape stuff. Mainly Batman. When I got my first PS4, the game came bundled with it, and after doing 4 playthroughs of Arkham Knight in a row, I didn't play much of it. I wouldn't pick it up again until my playthrough I did back in 2017, and you could tell it was mostly blind for sure.
I think we can squeeze through here.
I thought they were gonna do like that tease the end of this horror movie. Oh man. I'm trying to fight the tears.
Okay.
Oh my god. Wow. I'm tearing up. I'm not kidding, I wish I had face cam.
I played the game since then, and I've been itching to do another one recently with the TV series being a thing. Even though I'm, a year late, let's go ahead and review it anyway. While I do own the original PS3 version, I'll be playing the game via the remastered version that came out a year after its initial release. It mostly just bumps up the resolution, frame rate, and also improves the graphics slightly. I'm also going over the Left Behind DLC and mentioning the remake for PlayStation 5. Wow, we have quite a video ahead of us. But let's dive in and talk about the story. Meet Joel and his daughter Sarah. They're a lovely father-daughter duo when all of a sudden the world around them goes completely to shit and people turn into mindless fungus-infected monsters. With the help of Joel's brother Tommy, they escape into the city where the truck they're driving in is completely totaled. They run through the chaos unfolding and run into some trouble with some soldiers. Spoiler alert, it doesn't go over so well. We cut to 20 years later in Boston where we meet our partner Tess and learn that an arms dealer named Robert has taken their cache of weapons from them. After catching up, Robert lets us know that he sold the guns to the Fireflies, who are a militia group battling against what remains of the military. Their leader Marlene arrives to tell us that she'll double the amount of firearms only if they do one single job for her, which is to smuggle a young girl named Ellie over to the Capitol building. Some shenanigans occur, which include learning that Ellie is immune to the spores that turn people into the infected, arriving to a couple of dead bodies, and finding out Tess was bit along their travels. With the situation in hand, it's up to Joel and Ellie to make their way to Salt Lake City, dealing with all matters of obstacles and spread out across multiple seasons. The weather, not like it's an actual TV show or something. I stopped the recap because this is one of those games I would just prefer you experience the narrative for yourself. There are a lot of great moments throughout, and I don't want to rob people of those integral sequences. The story itself is fantastic and worth all the praise it's been given over the years. This is a dark and depressing world, but there are glimmers of hope, like Ellie for example. She's a lovable asshole and just a fun contrast to Joel's seriousness. Joel has been through the ringer, and you just feel for him with what he's experienced during this apocalypse. The best part of the narrative is the dynamic between our two main leads. There's a lot of tension and resistance at first, and they slowly warm up to each other, and it leads to an amazing bond. It has to be one of my favorite dynamics in any video game. Besides our main duo, there's a whole plethora of side characters to get attached to, like Tess, Marlene, Bill, Tommy, and the brothers Henry and Sam, just to name some. Like I said, this is an amazing story and it's something you should just play for yourself. Alright, on to gameplay. What we have here is a third-person shooter action-adventure that might seem like a Resident Evil game on the surface, but I'd say it's a bit more than just that. Let's begin with the combat you can do, and it's serviceable. You'll just be mashing square until Joel kills the person with an animation. They might throw a punch, which you can counter, but otherwise there's not much to it than that. You can hit them also with melee weapons such as pipes and bats, but you can only hit them so much before they break, so there's that. The main thing is the weapons, which there is a variety of. You have guns which range from pistols, shotguns, hunting, and assault rifles. You also have others like a bow and arrows, a flamethrower, and even throwable items like pipe bombs and Molotov cocktails. You can find bricks and bottles to fight with also, but I save them more for stealth sections, which I'll get to soon. There is a lot to choose from, and each of them have their uses for any situation you find yourself in. I love that I can tackle any obstacle in a number of ways, and they're all fun to mess around with. For this playthrough, I got comfortable with weapons that I don't normally use that often, like the hunting rifle and the shotgun, and even threw in a little Molotov cocktail and pipe bomb, just for added measure. Let's talk about stealth for a second, because just like combat, it's very simple. You go behind and hit triangle, which you can either choke them out or shoot them, which will start a fight, and why would you do that? Just gonna leave it here because that's it really. There's really nothing to go over with that. The main component of The Last of Us is resource management. All over the place you'll find stuff like ammo for your weapons or loose materials that allows you to craft certain items like medkits and Molotovs. You can even augment your melee weapon and make it a little better. I always pick up what I can and make sure I'm stocked up on everything so I'm never underprepared for what's ahead. Upgrades are essential with two types including weapons and skills. At the crafting tables you can improve your guns with stuff like reload speed and capacity. You can even add extra holsters to make switching between them easier. These can be purchased with these scrap metal pieces, and you can find toolboxes which gives you different levels of upgrades. With skills there's stuff like crafting faster and even reduced weapon sway. These are great, but finding the pills to help augment yourself is a bit scarce. The last few things you can do is sprint with L1, turn on a flashlight for dark areas with R3, and use focus mode with R1. This allows you to pinpoint highlighted enemies, and this is extremely useful for stealth scenarios. Overall, the gameplay is really good and super easy to pick up and play. I get a kick out of the weapons, and while stealth and combat seem lacking, they do their job well enough. Let's see what else this game has to offer. So the first thing I need to mention is that I'm not bringing up the multiplayer. I don't have PlayStation Plus, and I don't want to invest when I know I'm not going to say much about it in the first place. With that said, there's 12 chapters in total with areas that span all across the country. From Boston to Salt Lake City, there's a number of locations that you'll be exploring, and it's interesting to see how each of them approach the post-apocalyptic setting. There's collectibles to look out for within the levels, which can range from letters, comic books, and even these firefly pendants. This is a nice incentive to explore the environment, and I recommend reading the letters for your first playthrough. It also gives some insight and world building, so if you're into that kind of thing, go nuts. Once you beat the game, you'll have the option of playing through again on New Game Plus, which is always a cool addition. Did you catch the joke? Addition. For New Game Plus. Ha ha ha! I hate myself. Also, after beating the campaign, you're awarded cash, which you can use to purchase concept art, filters you can toggle, and different cosmetics for your character. It isn't really anything fancy, with most of it being different shirts and stuff like that, like this one for example. You're not going to find Joel in a cow costume or Ellie as a fish. Even though that would be super hilarious. Graphics are great and still hold up really well. As a late PS3 title, this really took advantage of the console's capabilities, and with the remaster's higher resolution and frame rate, it's just the cherry on top of the cake. Just to mention this, but there isn't really much differences between this and the original, and it was just an excuse to have this game on PS4. Which was common back then. The music by Gustavo, that guy, is just immaculate and one of my personal favorite video game OSTs ever. It's unlike any other soundtrack I've ever heard from a AAA title like this, and there's no track that isn't an 11 out of 10 right off the bat. We have DLC with most of it being cosmetics and maps for factions, which is whatever, but there is something else of interest. Okay, I think it's time we talked about this. Alright, so Left Behind is a story DLC that is a prequel which takes place weeks before the main story and also jumps to a specific part of the narrative. They started working on this right after finishing up the main game and with it releasing on February 14th, 2014. People really enjoyed it, and not only was it bundled with the remaster, but it also got a standalone release a year later, which... sure? I just played this on the remaster cause... why wouldn't I? But anyway, let's get into it. As mentioned, the story focuses on Ellie and how she got bitten with her best friend Riley, while present events are happening after the university attack. The past event is really interesting. It paints a picture of what Ellie's life was like before she met up with Marlene, and we also have a cute and dynamic relationship between Riley and her. There's tension between them, but we also see a playfulness that best friends would have. That's pretty impressive for a character we only knew through dialogue. When it comes to the other half, it's just Ellie on a mission to get some first aid supplies. That's it. There's not much else to it, really. In both settings, you're going through a mall with one of them letting you have fun and the other having you avoid assholes and the infected. I like that you're doing things like photo booths, merry-go-rounds, and shooting water guns. Overall, this was really enjoyable and I had a good time going through it. I like the story being told here, and I also like playing as Ellie before she... you know what, never mind. One thing to keep in mind is that this DLC is extremely short, with it being a little over an hour to complete. But for fans of the game and people just getting into it, you'll find something to enjoy.
So now it's time for you to talk the talk on the remake. Yeah.
What do you mean?
The remake for the PS5?
What's that?
You mentioned it earlier!
No, I didn't. I'm just kidding. Let's get into it. The Last of Us Part 1 is a complete remake of the original, built from the ground up, and was released back in September of 2022, with a PC release following 6 months later. I remember when the rumors for this started to circulate back in 2021, and I even made a rant pointing out that it was completely unnecessary. When it was officially announced, I can't say I was really excited, and the high price tag didn't make things any better. Especially when you can play the remaster through backwards compatibility for $20, and the idea of rebuilding a game that wasn't even 10 years old was just baffling to me. Sure, it looks prettier, but this couldn't save the fact that this just screamed as a cash grab. Sorry, tangent over. Let's get down to specifics. Getting into the main change, this game looks really incredible. The amount of detail in the character models and environments is out of this world and is a major improvement from the original. The aesthetic is meant to stick closer to Part 2, which is understandable. Something about the original I just like more, but I still like what they did here. The voice acting, music, and even cinematics are the same, which is good, but it's weird seeing them all in real time. The gameplay is also untouched, but I'm a little disappointed because this could have been a good opportunity to add some of the best additions from Part 2. Being able to dodge attacks, crawl on the ground, and having a permanent shiv were just great features, and I think it would have been neat to see how they would have incorporated into the level design we're familiar with. Even just having it as an option would have been nice, but the fact that it was omitted entirely just feels like a strange decision. I just miss the permanent knife. Also, this might be just me, but there's something about the game that just feels slower. It might be the animations fucking with me, but I felt like it was dragging its feet more than the remaster did. Besides the exclusion of multiplayer, it still has tons of extra content from the returning filters, gameplay modifiers, and skins, which include these two. Ugh. This is definitely in need of the revisited treatment, because as far as my thoughts at this moment, I enjoyed what I played, but it's not worth its asking price. It is a visual marvel compared to its previous releases, and at the same time I would rather just play the original. There's just these little things that make me like it more, plus it's cheaper. If you're insistent on playing this, wait for a sale. Okay, now to sound off my final thoughts. The Last of Us is a phenomenal piece of gaming media that has stood the test of time and that should be experienced by everyone. The story is exceptional with its themes and characters, the gameplay is good to experiment with, and I really like the weapons and the concept of using any resource necessary. Plus, there's lots of extra content to dive into and gives the game some replayability. Even though I did burn myself out playing this, I can't deny how excellent the overall package is, and I would recommend this to the highest degree. Even with all the issues I have, this is for sure in my top 10 favorite games ever created. Play it. There's nothing else to say. Just play it. Are you satisfied, Mr. Swfte?
That was incredible. It was worth the wait. Seriously.
I'm glad. Now you can stop fucking bothering me about it.
Hold on. Shut up. Sorry. I just have to ask this. You're gonna do part 2, right? Well, could I at least join you for that one? Rather than just sitting here in my alternate universe?
You know what, sure. I know you and I have differing opinions on this, so it'll make for an engaging video.
Awesome. Yes.
Now what am I gonna do next?
Can I make a suggestion?
Please don't.
I'm just messing with you. I'm really looking forward to the next one, though.
I mean, there's so many things that mean so much to me. I could do Mortal Kombat. I could do Tron.
Sonic Generations?
Pardon?
It had it at the end of the Journey video, so it's gotta be something you should do soon.
No.
I could join you for it, and it'll be an entertaining deep dive, and you know your audience loves me, and every time I appear in a video, the numbers go up, man. The numbers don't lie.
I'm gonna say this once. Go away!
But gotta go fast.
Alright, I'm putting you to a stop.
At least he won't bother us anymore.
You can go too.
Alright, I'm done. But before...
What a douche.
So we're definitely not doing Sonic next. But, honestly, even I don't know what we're doing next. But until then, hope you all have a great night. Thank you all so much for watching, and take care of yourselves.
That was incredible. It was worth the wait.